All right, you're being recorded to the cloud. So, good afternoon. Happy Thursday. We're going to make this as quick as possible because the Niners play tonight. So, um, the Facebook post. I know everybody here saw the Facebook post. Why do I even want to talk about the Facebook post? Um, I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, if you want to get traction on anything you post on Facebook, just post about something that has to do with the new practice regime and that thing will blow up, right? Everybody wants to chime in. Um, so, I've made a few here and a few there about the SPBB or, uh, those kinds of things, practice things, but I had no idea um, that I would get what I got about the post that I made this morning. Now, a little bit of background story. Everybody always wants to know, did that really happen or did you just make that up and put it on social media? So, day before yesterday, Brendan sends me a screenshot of an agent that he used to work with at Coldwell, Alhambra, that was a listing. And up at the top of the listing, it was in, some kind of marketing software or whatever. Up on top of the listing, it said, and I quote, 3% brokerage co-op. So it's all real. I have a screenshot of it. I can prove it to anybody if they ever think that I'm lying. But I'm not in the business of bashing stupid listing agents, so I didn't put it out there. But I do have it. So it actually happened. So I make the post, and I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, we'll get a bunch of people that say, what a dummy or something like that, because that's usually what happens. And you guys saw what happened instead was everybody wanted to tell me why I was wrong, right? No, 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 no. You can do that. No, 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 no. It's allowed. No, 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 no. As long as you don't put it on MLS, it's okay. Like, no, 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 no. It's all good. You're wrong. I I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't have the same understanding of the practice rules that we do and that NextHome does as a company. But I mean, those are just the people that had the time and the wherewithal to make a comment. Think about how many people screwed through that thing and just saw what I wrote and thought, he's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's doing. Right? Like they actually think that and they want to fight. They will fight and fight and fight and fight and fight to prove you wrong. And while they're doing that, they're putting themselves in position to get sued. And they'll just fight you to the death. Here's the moral of the story, because I really don't want to go over, like, we're not talking about it to bash people. We're not talking about it to make us look smarter. That's not what we're talking about. Well, the reason that I want to bring it up and I want to talk about it is look how easy it is to get sucked into a conversation that could really have you in a bad place really, really quickly. Look how easy it is. Look how many people are willing to tell you that if you do your job the right way, that you're wrong. And they're willing to take their time to explain to you why you're wrong in great detail. And they'll say things like, well, no, no, no. If you read the NAR website, it says co-op's cool. I promise you, the NAR website does not say that. The NAR just wrote a $450 million check because of the word co-op. Do you think that even for a moment the NAR is going to go, yeah, no, co-op's cool? No. So a lot of them, I think, even have the concept down of what we're not allowed to do, but they use the wrong word, right? They use the wrong word. What they're really trying to say is concession, right? They want to say concession, or they want to say direct payment from seller to buyer's broker. But instead, because they don't know, or because they don't know the new word, or because they're afraid to use the new word, they just use the old one that they're used to saying, which is co-op, which is great, except for the fact that that will get you sued, right? And it'll get me sued. It'll get everybody sued. Like, so words really, really matter. Okay. They really matter. All right. What lawyers do for a living is they pick apart words, they pick apart phrases, they pick apart sentences, and then they tweak it to fit their argument. And that's how they work. That's how they get paid. So be careful about using words. Take the word co-op and just eliminate it from your vocabulary. Okay. And I'll say it again for the people that are going to watch this later, or the people that are going to watch it, randomly off the internet or whatever. Cooperative commission is the practice of me getting paid a large sum of commission and giving some of it to you because you cooperated in the process. That's co-op. That's cooperative commission. That's what is no longer even, it shouldn't even register on your radar of options. Okay. It no longer exists. And I promise you that the NAR doesn't want you to offer co-op. Okay. They don't. Seller concession, which is the most common form of buyer broker payment today, which is the word that all of the forms and all of the car forms that are NAR approved and CAR approved and MLS approved, they use the word concession. Okay. That is an amount of money that the seller is conceding from the proceeds of the sale, and it can be directed however the contract sees fit. All right. So if you've got a seller that's saying, you know what, I'll go ahead and pay 2% to the buyer's brokerage for their participation in bringing a buyer to my house, that's a seller concession. Okay. A direct payment is a little bit different than a concession. A direct payment is when the seller says, look, I am offering a sum of X for you to bring a client to buy my house, and I will pay that offer of X at closing from me to you on the closing statement. It's not worded as a concession. It's not formed as a concession. It's formed as a direct payment. But if you read the comments, you'll see that Julie said, hey, I don't know if I like that word. I don't know if I like it either. I would simply talk about concessions, right? Concession is the new word, not a co-op, no. Here's the other thing I'm going to tell you about concessions and co-ops and everything else. One of the key points of the lawsuit, remember, was that if you negotiate that up front with the seller, like Steve signs a listing agreement and he says, hey, I think we ought to pay this. Okay. I think you ought to pay 2.5%. I think you ought to do that. And here's all the reasons why. Okay. If it can be construed in any way, shape, or form that you are presenting that as mandatory to a seller, you're screwed. Okay, you're screwed. All right, because then once again, you're forcing the seller to pay for something that they may not necessarily have to pay, and you're telling them that if they don't do that, their house isn't going to sell. Right? So you got to be really careful with your words to clients, with your words to the public, with what you may or may not choose to put on social media, and it's there forever. Okay? You got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with the words that you use with buyers. For example, Steve's talking to a buyer. The buyer and Steve can have a conversation about who's paying Steve's commission, right? Steve says, I charge 2% as a commission for the sale. Buyer says, I don't want to pay your commission, or how can I pay your commission, or whatever, right? That's okay. You're talking about Steve's commission for the sale. However, that glob of money that Steve negotiates on the SPB form from the seller, that glob of money from the seller, is not a commission, right? The seller is not paying Steve a commission. The seller is making a concession to the contract to the buyer, to the other party of the contract, and the buyer is paying Steve a what? Commission. So Steve, if Steve says something like, "Well, don't worry about it, seller's going to pay my commission," are they? Nope, they're not. Okay. Careful which words you use. Careful what you put on the internet. And the reason I tell you this is we talk about this more and more, and you get better and better at it. You're going to see some numbnuts put something on the internet that just prompts you to respond. You're not going to be able to help yourself. Okay. You're not going to be able to help yours. Michael's laughing. He knows it's true. Okay. The words that you use to respond, don't go fast. I want you to think very carefully about what you're talking about before you choose to respond. Okay. And if you can do yourself a couple of favors, just forget about the word co-op and forget about the word commission, and you'll probably be okay. You can probably say whatever you want. If you speak in terms of concession, you'll probably be okay. All right. Stay tuned, because this is the way that my posts work. They blow up in the morning, they're quiet in the afternoon, and then they blow up again in the evening, right? So stay tuned. There's going to be more arguing about vocabulary and what and what not is not. This is a good point. I should have brought this up. Legal. Okay. You'll see if you read through that, some people like to talk about what's legal in California, what the law is. Okay. I don't know about that because I'm not a lawyer. All right. But what I do know is this: we're all here with a different practice change. We're all here, and our brokerages have paid out money, and NAR has paid out money, and the whole world's changed. And there's been millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. I don't even know what NextHome's amount is. Millions upon millions and millions of dollars paid, and nobody broke the law. Think about that. Are we all here right now? And did this situation come up because we were all breaking laws? Is that what happened? And then some lawyer came along and decided, oh, they're all breaking laws. I gotta fix this. Is that what happened? You guys answered. Is that what happened? No. Okay. Did we, as a group, I mean, I'm sure there were some agents out there, some brokers out there that were breaking laws, but generally speaking, as a group, the real estate industry, by transacting business the way that we were, and by the commission flow flowing the way that it used to, were we breaking any laws? Shake your head like this. No, we weren't breaking any laws. Did we get sued in a class action lawsuit anyways and end up having to fork out millions of dollars and have a giant practice change and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Did all that happen anyways, regardless of the fact if we ever broke a law? Go like this. Nod your head up and down. Yeah. So what does legal have to do with it? Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Be careful. Any questions before we move on?
I think Michael's note taker took some good notes last time, right? About how you're supposed to word things. So maybe he could share that again with everybody.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad somebody's reading that robot. Like, they just scare me. I delete them. I delete Michael's and I delete Don's.
I don't have any of it, but I don't know. I think I copied it and I pasted it in the chat last time, and then and it's like, Michael, this is really good. So we know it's just a matter of getting used to not saying the word co-op, right? or commission. You have to say concessions, or, I think concessions is just the easiest thing to just remember. Otherwise, you're going to end up in trouble.
Yeah, you are. A whole lot of people are going to end up in trouble. Remember what we talked about. These class action lawyers that are putting together the next wave of class action copycat suits, the first place and the best place that they troll to find out how to be named is the internet, is social media. Okay? Absolutely is. Oh, by the way, just for point of reference, and you can dig into it if you want, 2 or 3 of the people that told me how wrong I was are brokers on the post.
I believe that.
They're brokers. So, all right, moving on. Somebody tell me, when it comes to real estate, let's say that you're doing a bunch of work right now on prospecting and signing some listings, and maybe you got a new buyer that you signed a BRBC with. Somebody tell me how long on average, or industry average, how long does it take for you to get paid based on that activity today? How long? Anybody know what the stats are?
About 6 months.
3 to 6 months, yeah.
6 months, good guess. Steve, 3 to 6 months, good guess. Yeah. Yeah, the statistics say 90 days. Okay. Okay, now everybody look at your calendar. What's the date? October 10th. 90 days from today is what date? Somebody tell me.
January 10th.
January 10th,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
when people say, you know what, next year is going to be my year, what are they really talking about? Next year is here.
Yeah.
Okay, next year is here. Now, don't get me wrong. I know we're hustling really hard, all of us, and I talk to you guys, and I know what you're doing out there. We're hustling out here, all of us, really, really hard to try and get in 1, 2 more transactions by the end of this year. And I get that. Okay, that's really important. But what I want you to start thinking about is that, this year's done. It really is. We're working hard to close it out. We're trying to put a couple of more things in the pipe, and that's all important. But what we've really got to be focusing on from this point moving forward is, what is next year going to look like for all of us? Okay. What's it going to look like for all of us? And I think it's safe to say everybody either on this call or that's not on this call that we work with, or everybody, well, hell, every single person I know in this industry really would like to have a better year next year than they did this year. Okay. That's the general consensus. And hey, what? Steve, you had a pretty good year, right? I mean, you did. 2024 was not bad for Steve.
The best
Okay.
I've had
Yeah. Best year he's had in a while, ever, or in a while?
ever.
Ever. I mean, is that it? Satisfied? No. Right? No. When we talk about wanting to do better next year, it could mean that we had a miserable year this year. It could mean that we had a good year this year, but wanting to do better and wanting to find that potential, whatever that is, that's what makes it possible for you guys to even hold this job. Okay. If you don't have that kind of fire in the belly and quest for potential, I love the quest for potential. Quest for potential, then you probably don't belong in this arena, right? So we've got to start figuring out what we want that to look like as individuals, and we've got to start taking action on that plan now. Because think about it. If we wait till January 4th, because what happens at the end of the year, every year, guys, we go through the holidays, then we go through New Year's, everybody's kind of eating and drinking too much, and, got all these family commitments or whatever else, and we're not working, not that much. And then by the time we get back to it and get used to getting out of bed early again, it's January 4th, January 6th, and here we are. And that's when most agents, I hate to break it to you, that's when most agents are like, all right, 2025, let's do this. What are we going to do? Well, if they made a bunch of changes because they wanted to have a better 2025 on January 5th, when would those changes start to show their face? After the selling season already started. Think about that. You decide on January 10th that you're going to make these significant changes to your business or your marketing, your prospecting, or whatever. Pick something. You decide you're going to do that then. 90 days, what's it, January, what is that, February, March, April? Year's half over. Year's half over. So you've got to start thinking in terms of what do you want it to look like now? And you've got to start thinking in terms of what do I need to do different to have a different result? You've got to start to implement that in the very near future so that by the time we get to January, all of those things that you've changed and all of those things that you've implemented are actually starting to pay you. You're actually starting to get a return on that. Okay? We're not going to do that all today because that can be a lengthy process. But here's what I want you to start thinking about. Okay? And maybe we can circle back and touch on it next week or something like that. But I'll help you build the action plan for what you want. Okay? Let me say that again. I will help you build the action plan for what you want. I like that accent a little bit better. But you have to kind of decide what it is that you want. Okay? So when I say that, I guess the easiest way to say it was you've got to kind of set goals for yourself. Now, let me tell you how I set goals for myself and what I think is important. And then you can take it and tweak it if you want. Okay? The first one is, and this is really important, don't have like 10 of them. Okay? You can't have 10 goals. That's way too many. Way too many. Every year I have 3 and 3 only. Now, there could be a bunch of little miniature goals that contribute to the main 3. But when I think about my goals for the year, I'm thinking about 3 things. Okay? And for me, they always involve 2 are always the same. One of them is always a number of units, and one of them is always a number of agents. Okay? You will always see that those 2 things in my 3 goals you will see over and over and over again. You know that Damien will have a unit production number, and you know that Damien will have an agent number. Okay? And then the third one is kind of subjective to what I want that year to be. And I haven't decided what that is yet. All right? I'm not saying you can't have more than 3, but I would be really, really cautious about having more than 5 main goals. Okay? And in this case, guys, less is more. All right? If you think, well, 5 is stretching it, then don't do that. Just do 3. Do 3. Okay? Once you've decided what those 3 goals are, and let me just throw some numbers together. If I say I want to do 100 units, I want to have 100 agents, and I want to do 15 public events. I mean, are those good goals? Yes or no? Does it sound good? 100, 115? Sound good? Yeah, sure, it sounds good. But that's never going to happen. Okay? It's never going to happen. I might as well say I want to win Powerball. The chances of that happening are probably better than me doing 100 units, 100 agents, and 15 public events. Okay? It's not going to happen. So the goal is worthless. It's not even close to being achievable. Okay? Couple of things with unachievable goals. Okay? Number one, you're never going to achieve them, so you're not going to be able to celebrate any success. But before that happens, what will happen to you trying to achieve that goal? You'll get frustrated and quit, right? You'll realize there's no way it's going to happen. Why bother trying? And then I'll quit. So make sure that your goals are a stretch, but they're realistic. right? Like Steve, I'm going to pick on you. Okay. How many units you do this year? 4, 5?
5 transactions.
Okay. You did 5 units this year. So if Steve was to say, I want to do 25 next year, that might be a bit of a stretch, right? But if Steve would say, I want to double my business and do 10, that's pretty realistic, right? That's just under a transaction a month. Can Steve do that? Can he process that? Yeah. Can he manage those client contacts? Yeah. You know, can he handle that kind of time constraint on his schedule? Yeah. Can he jump from the 5 to 105? Probably not. He doesn't have the infrastructure to do that in place, right? So I'm not telling you that that's your number, but or that you even have a production goal, but think of it along those terms. Second thing that it's got to be, okay, you've got to be able to measure it along the way. Okay. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to oversimplify it. Michael says, you know what, next year, I just want to do better. Okay. Or Michael says, you know what, next year, I want to do 10 units. Okay. Let me ask you this. Can Michael measure do better? No. Can't ever measure do better, right? Can he measure along the way 10 units? Sure. If it's April or May and he's done 7, he can do the math and know that he's ahead of the curve. If it's April or May and he's done 1, he can do the math and know that he's behind the curve. He can know how he's doing in relationship to his goal and what kind of adjustments he may need to make. Right? So make sure that you can measure it. Otherwise, it's just worthless. It means nothing. Okay? You've got to be able to spot check along the way and know if you're on track or if you're behind. You've got to be able to break it down into, workable segments. You might want to break it down into quarterly goals or monthly goals or daily goals or whatever. You can break it down to minute goals if you wanted to, but you've got to be able to measure it. So make sure that they're achievable, but they're a stretch. Make sure that you can measure them. Okay, those are the 2 most important things. 2 most important things. Last thing I'll say on that subject is, why is it important to have them anyways? Anybody know why I think it's important to have them anyways out in front of you?
Have a target.
Yeah.
Have a
Something
target.
aiming for 'em.
Something to aim for. Yeah. What else? Say that again.
Accountability.
Accountability. Yeah. Yep. In the real estate business, who's holding you accountable? Yourself, right? I'm sure there's some brokerages out there where, the broker or the office manager is on the phone with you every single morning asking you how many steak knives you sold, but this isn't one of them, right? You're accountable to yourself. Your ultimate motivation is self-motivation. Your boss is you, right? And when we have life get in the way, or when we have economies that stress us out, or when we have, other situations that keep us busy, be that social life, be that family, pick something, okay? We've got to be able to have a checkpoint or a series of checkpoints to tell ourselves, hey, how am I doing? Right? Am I above? Am I behind? Oh, hold on. We got something in the chat. It's a Zig Ziglar quote, so I'm getting into it. A goal properly set is halfway reached, and if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. Yes, very good. Very good. Right? So we've got to have something to keep us in line, to keep us motivated, to keep us going, to let us know, hey, you got to work harder. Hey, you're doing good. Maybe you should reset your goal. There's nothing wrong with Michael saying, I want to do 10, and in the first quarter, he's on track to do 15 and say, you know what, I'm changing it. It's better than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to 15, right? and recalibrating everything along the way. Right? So that's why they're important. That's why it's important to have them. That's why it's important to make sure that they're manageable and make sure that they're measurable so that you can use them for yourself throughout the year to know how you're doing and what you need to address. What you need to address. Once you figure out what the achievable goal is and the stretch goal is, and once you figure out that it's manageable, then below that, we start to develop what are you going to do to see that that happens? What is your action plan or what is your plan of attack to see that that happens? Because Dawn can't say, I want to do 15 units and I'm just going to trust the process. I put it out there. I manifested it. I put it out there for the universe and I'm just going to trust that the universe is going to bring it to me because I'm manifesting that that's what I want. Right? Doesn't work that way. Sorry. Okay. Doesn't work that way. So we've got to have an action plan that says, hey, maybe Don's going to do this many knocking on doors. Hey, maybe Don's going to do this many prospecting emails. Hey, maybe Don's going to add these two or create these two smart campaigns that he thinks will be best for his sphere of influence, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? We have an action plan or a series of items underneath each goal that you can commit yourself to that are going to give you the best chance of achieving or exceeding that number. Action plans are kind of like goals in this in the sense that it really needs to be something that you can commit to. And let me give you an example of that. I am pretty sure that if I made the commitment to go door knocking every single day and picked a neighborhood every single day and did door knocking every single day, that just from that activity, I could do 12 more units in 2025. I'm pretty sure that I could do 1 unit a month if I knocked on doors every single day. Okay. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I'm not going to do that. I know that I'm not going to do that. I know that I'll never do that. I know that that's not who I am. So that cannot be part of my action plan. My action plan can't say, well, Damien's going to go knock on doors every single day. Even though, would it work? Probably. Is it a good idea? Sure. Okay. Am I going to do it? No. Absolutely not. Okay. So when we start to think about action plan, remember, you've got to be up for it, right? Coaching business is the greatest gig in the world. You want to know why? Because I can sit here and I can give you all these ideas, all these things that I know would work, all these things that I know would impact your business. Okay. And you can pay me to give you those things. And I don't have to do a damn one of them. Not one of them. I can say, well, you know what, Michael, you want to triple your business? What you got to do is you got to spend 3 hours on the phone every day making phone calls, and you got to spend 45 minutes every day going out and knocking on doors. You got to be out there. You got to wear your name tag everywhere you go. Okay. You got to have flyers and gimmicks and gifts and keychains and all. I mean, I can just run it off. I can run it off, and I'm absolutely right. Okay. Now let me tell you the other trick about business coaching. Okay. I don't have to do any of it. He has to do all of it. So when he comes back to me and he says, Damien, you did not double my business, I'll go, okay, well, let's go back. Let's look. Did you do all those things I told you to do? Well, no. Okay, well, of course you didn't double your business then. You didn't do everything I told you to do. Okay. It's quiet in here. Are you all done? This is Dawn's robot. It's quiet in here. Are you all done? I will be leaving in 1 minute unless I hear someone talking.
My robot got bored.
Okay. So look, it's really easy for me or for somebody else to say, look, hey, do you want to double or triple your business? Let's just, you need to do A, B, C, and D, and your business is going to double or triple. It's really easy for me to do that, but it's not reality. All right. It's absolutely positively not reality. both your goals and your action plan have got to be achievable, and it's got to be something that you're willing to do and something that you're willing to take up for a year. For a year. Okay? We'll work through the process of making sure that you have goals that are realistic, an action plan that you're willing to follow, and that your action plan meets your goal. For example, Don has an action plan of, well, I'm going to work 1 day a week, and then I'm going to play golf 2 days a week, and, I'm going to go hiking 1 day a week, and then the weekends, I'm going to spend with my partner. Okay, this is a good action plan. Will lead to a very fulfilling life. Probably not going to sell 24 units, right? So the action plan, it's all got to be congruent. It's all got to make sense. And at the end of the day, it's all got to make sense for you as an individual, right? So I want you to start thinking about it. Start thinking about what your goals might be. I want you to start kicking around action plans. You don't have to get super, super detailed in the action plans. I'll help you do that. Okay. But it's time. It's time to start doing that, because hopefully, if not by the end of October, by the middle of November, you've got this nailed down. We've got an action plan nailed down, and whatever changes or whatever programs or whatever strategies you need to implement, they're implemented. They're running. It's working. All right. So that come January, you're farming. Yeah. Somebody, who was it?
Me, Julie. I've done a lot of this stuff, and I can, I don't know, it's all in my own format, and I've got some old stuff for like social media and stuff. I'll just share whatever I have if anybody's interested. And, I really like the idea that you're coming up with helping us provide an action, do an action plan, because I think it's really important. I think especially when you're new, or like me, you're returning into this field and you just feel like you've got so much stuff. It's just so overwhelming. It's great to be able to have that guidance. And just, I used to have a template, that would break everything down by like activity and what you have to be doing and how many phone calls you had to make, and everything. And I'm trying to find it because that's something that I need to implement, because I just get overwhelmed. If you have that on your calendar and you have it in a template, then it forces you to do that activity every day. It forces you to just be motivated to make those goals, to get those goals accomplished. And then you just get excited when you get to the next, you reach one of your goals, and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. So I think that would be really helpful. But I know that I have an action plan that was for social media. That was like when I first started. I didn't really like that plan for myself, but I can send it, and you guys can just put in your own templates and things like that, and then just make those posts, and it might just help. I'll just do what I can. That if you guys need something, maybe we can even work together and help implement the plans that Damien provides.
Well, don't. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. And before I forget, guys, Julie is going to be reaching out to you directly outside of the meeting with some kind of exciting stuff that's going on in her lending portion of the business. But the one thing I will say is this: there is a lot of stuff out there, and it sounds like you might have some of it that is templated and scheduling and very, very powerful and all that. Please don't be confused, guys. I am not going to give you that. So like, I'll give you some great ideas, and I'll give you some great programs, and I'll give you some, what I think is a schedule and what I think is a frequency that will work. And there'll be some math involved with that. Believe me, there will be. But when you and I are done, you're probably going to end up having, what you're going to probably end up having is a sheet of paper with a bunch of notes on it, or a computer with a bunch of notes on it. And then you're going to have to go implement it. Right. So, hopefully that's still of value to you, because that is what I can and will offer. So, all right. Oh, geez. Yeah. I didn't think we'd be able to fill the time. And there we go. Any questions or thoughts about any of this stuff before we get on out of here? Look at Jessica's background. Looks like It's like a golf course, doesn't it,
Just
Dawn?
give me 1 minute. I'm gonna
Big
send
old
it.
clubhouse back there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, it does. Looks like a golf course. All right. So start thinking about that stuff. I'll send an email out and ask you some questions or whatever else, and we'll
Putting
work
something
on
in
it.
the chat box. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Why can't I put anything in the chat box?
No clue. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm gonna send a link. This is just kind of covering your SMART goals. And you should be able to see that. So it's just a little reminder of SMART goals.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, folks. Anything? Get a 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go Niners.